Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, what just happened on Capitol Hill? It is nothing short of explosive. It has just gone down. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, the Democratic firebrand who built her name on outrage and theatrics, is now in full-blown panic mode after an Oversight Committee hearing cracked the Epstein scandal wide open. Now, for the very first time, we heard testimony from a victim who had never spoken publicly before. Her voice raw, her story devastating, and her demand to Congress crystal clear. Do something. That single moment shattered the room, and Crockett, the carefully polished image that she's been clinging to, it is unraveling under the weight of bipartisan scrutiny, unanswered questions, and public outrage that refuses to be silenced. So this is not just about Jeffrey Epstein anymore. This is about who enabled him, who covered for him, and why files, transfers, and testimonies, they're missing in action, still missing in action years later. Crockett can no longer laugh it off, change her accent, or hide behind party lines. Today, this mask has completely slipped off and America saw through the cracks. So the real question that we have to ask is this: is Jasmine Crockett fighting for victims, or is she fighting for survival? Now, stay right there. I have a lot to break down in this video. Every shocking detail from today's Oversight Committee, from the bombshell testimony that the left cannot even allow to get out, but it has already stunned the room, and I'm going to share it with you guys, to the unanswered questions about Ghislaine Maxwell, the DOJ cover-ups, the bipartisan pressure closing in on Jasmine Crockett like never before. This is explosive. Hit the like button and subscribe, guys. We have a lot to cover today. So the Oversight Committee hearing just blew the Epstein scandal wide open, and Jasmine Crockett, the Democrat firebrand from Texas, is in panic mode like we've never seen before. Now, picture this. The camera's cut, the gavel drops, and Crockett storms out of the hearing room, shaken, rattled, visibly caught off guard. For years, she thrived on confrontation. She built her brand on fiery speeches and dramatic outbursts, but today, it was different. She was concerned. The scandal is just too big. The cracks in the system are too deep, and it isn't just about political theater anymore. Former Attorney General Bill Barr, yes, the same Bill Barr, testified before House Oversight just weeks ago. His deposition confirmed massive security failures in Epstein's death, and once again, he repeated the official line: there is no client list, none. But that answer only raised more questions, because if there's no client list, then why are there so many redactions? Why is so much evidence missing? The public ain't buying it. If you're not buying it, guys, just type in lies down below, because they want the truth. And Jasmine Crockett knows that she can't control this firestorm. Now, then came the moment that just completely cracked the air like thunder. Victims stood up, some from decades past, their voices shaking, their pain raw. And for the very first time, we heard from a woman who had never spoken publicly about her abuse up until that day. She broke her silence in front of Congress. Her words, very simple but devastating: do something. Act now. Now think about that. After years of cover-ups, backroom deals, prosecutors cutting sweetheart arrangements, politicians looking in the other way, I mean, you got victims that are still out there having to beg their government to act. Their message was loud and clear. It's not enough to hold roundtables. It is not enough to posture on MSNBC. They want accountability. They want justice. Now, this is where the tension explodes, because Jasmine Crockett, once so confident, she's now finding herself caught between two fires. Now, on the one side, the victims, those folks whose testimony rips away the shield of excuses and demand action. But on the other side, her own political instincts, her urge to spin this into like a partisan fight, her reliance on theatrics to keep herself relevant. This isn't just about scoring points anymore. This is about who knew, who covered, and why these crimes were allowed to stretch from the 1990s into the 2000s. And so this is why Jasmine Crockett's mask is slipping. She can't laugh this one off. She can't clap back with a sassy line on TikTok. The stakes are just way too high, and the victims, they're not backing down. So when was the last time your insurance company called to check on you, not to sell you, but to help? Probably never, right? That's because they don't see you as a friend. This is why I partnered with Chapter. They're Medicare advisors. They listen, ask questions, and treat you like family. Mark King, he told us, he said, hey, it felt like talking to someone who genuinely cared about me, not their commission. So let me ask, do you want to keep being just a number to your insurer? Or do you want to do what most people are already doing? Working with someone who treats you like a friend. Now, most people are calling the phone number on your screen down below, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. The phone number is 909-563-8279. But guys, it didn't stop with the testimony. No. What the oversight hearing revealed next made it crystal clear. This was never just one sick old man. This was a RICO-sized operation, the kind of organized crime network that we've seen the DOJ hammer mob bosses with for decades. But think about it. Epstein didn't operate alone. He had money flowing through major banks, handlers, and assistants who scheduled his movements, pilots who were flying private jets with unnamed passengers, and layers of protection. This thing stretched from Wall Street to Washington, guys. Every single one of those pieces should have been a part of a criminal conspiracy case. If this wasn't RICO, then what on earth qualifies? So at the end of it stood Ghislaine Maxwell. Now let's be clear. Jasmine Crockett didn't mince words here. She didn't call her misguided or complicated. Jasmine Crockett called her what she is, a monster, convicted, sentenced 20 years. And yet, here's where the scandal thickens here, because buried in this testimony was a revelation that stunned the room. Maxwell had been quietly transferred from her Florida facility to Texas. Why? Who authorized this? And why would someone convicted of running a trafficking network that spanned decades, who was tied at the hip to Epstein himself, be moved out of sight into a less secure environment? So this is where Jasmine Crockett pressed hard. But here's the problem. The harder she pressed, the shakier she looked. Because if Maxwell was given special treatment, that means powerful people are still pulling the strings behind the scenes. And Crockett knows very well that the public won't accept another oops procedural move, okay? No more excuses, not after decades of cover-ups. But that was the moment that essentially her carefully controlled image, the firebrand, the firefighter, Jasmine Crockett, the loudest voice in the room, began to slip. Because this wasn't about shouting down Republicans anymore. This was different. This was about exposing decisions made at the highest levels of government under both parties to protect people who should have been exposed years ago. And then came the bombshell that sent her spinning into panic mode. The DOJ and FBI doubled down. They said once again, there is no Epstein client list. Epstein died by suicide. Case closed. But let's ask the obvious. Do you even buy that? Comment down below if you think Epstein died by suicide. Do you believe that? Drop me a yes or no down below, guys. Most American people don't buy that. The victims don't buy that for sure. And frankly, Crockett herself claims that she doesn't. And this is why she completely exploded. Instead of training her fire on the institution's hiding evidence, she decided to turn her fire on Donald J. Trump. What she did was she went on MSNBC and she called him a wannabe Hitler, accusing Republicans of covering for Epstein's network to protect the MAGA brand. She attacked Donald J. Trump over Epstein. Ladies and gentlemen, think about that just for a second, okay? Victims are pouring their hearts out. They're demanding action. They're demanding names. They're demanding real justice. And what does Jasmine Crockett do? She turns it into another partisan war cry. Instead of uniting the committee around uncovering every transfer, every file, every shady deal, she pointed her finger at Trump, turning the hearing into yet another episode of political theater. That's all she does. Republicans scrambled. Democrats cheered. I mean, the media just licked it up, but the victims, they were left in the shadows yet again. And Jasmine Crockett, the one who loves to clap back, loves to go viral, loves to perform, was suddenly in the fight of her political life, because the more she leaned into partisan blame, the more obvious it became. She wasn't fighting for the victims. She was fighting for herself. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not leadership. That's panic. This is where the battle lines inside Congress came into full view, because Jasmine Crockett wasn't content just pressing for answers. She went on in. She's demanding that President Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi be hauled before oversight and forced to testify under oath about what's really going on with the Epstein files. Now, she is accusing the DOJ of hiding key evidence. She said outright that Pam Bondi herself might be running interference, and her message was unmistakable. If you're not willing to testify, you're hiding something. Now, here's the part that really made jaws drop. Republicans resisted. Some skipped the hearing entirely. Others downplayed the whole matter, saying that the files were a distraction from bigger issues. This is when Jasmine Crockett just blurted out pure rage. On camera, she accused Republicans of pledging loyalty to Trump over loyalty to the truth. Her exact words, she says they want to pledge their loyalty, but they know it's problematic for the MAGA brand. Now, I want to pause on that for a second because on one side, survivors of Epstein abuse, they're begging Congress to close the loophole in the Crime Victims Act so that whatever happened to them can never happen again. You guys remember Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who cut Epstein that sweetheart deal in secret, violating the victims' rights by not even informing them? That was supposed to be illegal under the law, but the loopholes let him do it anyway. Victims spent 10 years fighting just to be heard, only to watch Epstein escape justice up until his death. Wow. I mean, Jasmine Crockett, she tried to leverage this moment. She tried to posture in such a way where she was fighting for the people, but she was only fighting for herself. Now, on the other side, Republicans, well, we've observed Republicans and conservatives fighting for what was actually mattering. But Jasmine Crockett, she was caught in the middle again. To some people, she's looking like a fighter. To other people, she looks like a politician in panic mode, lashing out to protect her own brand while pretending that it's about justice. But this brings us to her identity, because I don't want anyone to forget this here, guys. This isn't the first time Jasmine Crockett's style stole the spotlight, okay? Remember when she went viral calling people out, saying that they needed civic lessons? She mocked, she shifted accents. She went from proper speaking, hello, I am Jasmine Crockett, to the ghetto, weave-infested Jasmine Crockett that we have all come to know and hate over the years. She would literally go viral on TikTok and MSNBC with all of the different stereotypes that she believed would essentially be able to better communicate with her perceived audience and demographic with, right? She would do whatever she needed to do just to prove that she was hood. Critics said back then she wasn't focused on passing legislation. She was focused on theatrics, performing, going viral on TikTok. So what do we see now? We're seeing the same performance. We're seeing the same high drama, just wrapped around the Epstein scandal. Now, here's the situation. This outrage that we're seeing, is it genuine, or is this more fake Jasmine Crockett acting like she gives, I don't want to say the D word, but acting like she gives a rat's A, or does she really care about the people? I'm not buying it, guys. I'm not buying it, because Crockett's image has always been very controversial. On the one hand, she claims to be a very serious lawmaker, but on the other side, she doubles down on fiery rhetoric, viral clapbacks, and code switching just to appear more relatable. Okay. Now she's channeling that same persona into oversight hearings. But let's ask the real question. Is that leadership, or is that survival mode? Victims, they don't care about her accent. They don't care about her TikTok views. They care about action. And every time Jasmine Crockett leans into theatrics instead of bipartisan results, she risks proving her critics right, that it's not about the victims. It's really more about Jasmine Crockett staying relevant. This is why the tension is so explosive here, because Jasmine Crockett's behavior looks a lot less like courage and more like desperation, a whole lot less like leadership and a whole lot more like panic. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're really at this breaking point. The victims have spoken, the public has spoken, and now Jasmine Crockett, the same congresswoman who once thrived on TikTok sound bites and media theatrics, she's finding herself at the very epicenter of the Epstein scandal hurricane. Now, this is not about her accent. This is not about her viral clapbacks. This is about whether Congress is finally going to deliver the transparency and the justice that Americans have been demanding for years. Now, think about the timeline. From 1990s to the 2008, victims were failed. They were failed. They begged for action, and doors were slammed in their faces. Prosecutors like Alex Acosta cut secret deals. Banks turned a blind eye. Ghislaine Maxwell, the monster at the center of it all, was shuffled around like a pawn instead of being locked down like a criminal that she is. And here we are in 2025, still fighting over whether all the files have even been turned over yet. And then you got Jasmine Crockett. She's in panic mode because she knows the truth. If this oversight investigation keeps digging, if subpoenas keep flying, if pressure keeps mounting, then the cover-ups, they can't last forever. So the real question for you is this, the American people. It's really simple. Is she panicked because she's fighting for the victims? Or is she panicked because she's really fighting for her own political survival? Because make no mistake, guys, this isn't just another headline. This is the flashpoint. This is the moment that will decide whether Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and the network around him finally face sunlight, or whether the files, the names, and the truth stay behind and buried in the shadows. Jasmine Crockett may be in panic mode, but the victims and the American people, we're done waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Jasmine Crockett is really exposing the truth, or is Jasmine Crockett really just protecting herself? Now, if you're tired of the cover-ups, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video right now, because the more light we shine, the harder it is for them to keep the truth locked in the darkness.